Hey guys, welcome back to another F1 Manager 22 video. This is race 2, Saudi Arabia. Our last race, we did really well in Bahrain, considering it was our first race. Some admin stuff before we get into that race. We had the team hub come through. The construction is complete. We are trying to develop some of the background stuff for the team because they were a bit lacking in facilities. We are sitting third in the Constructors' Championship after our good result in Bahrain. Our scouting department just suggested that we should check out Roman Stanek, the Czech driver in F3. So we're going to scout him and see if he's any good and someone that we should look at in the future. I also went in and scouted Jack Doohan as well because I'm Australian and it would be good to have another Australian in the team, as we already have Oscar Piastri. The team hub also was completed, so that's another department that we have upgraded. We also had a suspension upgrade come through, which was something that was started before I even took over the team. So this was something probably from the off season that was being developed, which gave us a lot of improvement on the car. So we put that on Fernando Alonso's car for the upcoming race, and we'll see how that goes. And then if we think it's any good, we'll make another one and we'll put that on Esteban's car as well. We are exceeding expectations, so the board is pretty happy after our result in Bahrain. Something that they also mentioned is that we can improve something on Esteban's braking ability. He doesn't currently have any development points, so I can't do anything, but that's something to look at going forward when he does start to earn some of those points. So just taking a quick look at the next race, Jeddah. Just an overview. There's only been one race there, so there's not a lot of information about it. Our car seems to be pretty good there as far as high speed and medium speed areas of the track. This stuff is not really that important because of because we've only had one race there. There's only been one safety car, so that's the average. Looking at the strategies, I'm inclined to go for the one stop, but there is the option for the two stop there, and the soft tires. Maybe we'll mix it up. I have to see what we did when we did this one. So qualifying targets I put in for this one just to reach Q3. I wasn't going to guarantee a position because we still don't know exactly where the car is after one race. I didn't put any race targets on there because the only option it gave me was fastest lap, which I don't think we were going to set. And the hot streak target was one that we just left because that is a 5 race long target, so that doesn't get touched for a while. Got some developments. They're still in the works. They're still a couple of weeks away. I went in and I had a look at some of our staff and just wanted to see, was there any options to make some improvements. I did put the focus on tire changes for the pit crew. I like that little feature where you can actually develop them in that area. Also looking at things like the technical chief, head of aerodynamics, and just the engineers in general. But when I went through and I had a look, what I noticed was we're pretty good. Our guys are pretty much some of the top guys in F1 across the board. The only ones that I would say weren't the top were the actual engineers, like the race engineers, as in Fernando and Esteban's race engineers. But even then, what I noticed with them was that they're really young. So there's a lot of development that I can do on those guys and bring them up to the likes of someone like a Bono or something like that, because there's a big age difference there, with a lot of them. So I didn't feel like there's anything that I needed to do. I did scout one guy. I think he was a race engineer from F2. I think he's one of the Prema. Here he is, this guy. He's one of the... Was it Prema? We're going to see in a minute anyway, because I think I'm going to go into it here. This guy. Pedro Matos. So I think he's with Prema. Yeah, he's the only guy that I checked out. So he's just on a scout. As far as all of our objectives, we're doing pretty good. Team budget, I mean, we don't really know until we start making some mistakes if we're actually overspending or underspending. But I'm trying to be fairly cautious with that stuff. And as far as the team rating is, still revered. And I think that, the things that we're doing with the facilities are bringing it up. And, my stats, obviously here, one race isn't going to really give you much of an idea of how I'm going. But I think at the moment, I've spent a bit of money straight up. And you'll see that in a minute when I go in and I do upgrade some more facilities. But after that, I think I'm going to really just knuckle down on trying to get the car into the best space possible. So we got the wind tunnel and the CFD simulator still in progress. I also updated design center, so that's going to be a level 3 now, just to give us that one extra project, so we can be working on 3 things at once. And that's pretty much it. That's all I really did pre the Jeddah race, because we are where we are at the moment, and right now we're just working on building the foundations of a good team, getting all the facilities up to spec, so we can start putting more focus on the car and pushing things forward, and maybe attracting some better staff and drivers.
Formula One is back. Welcome to one of the fastest circuits on the calendar here at Jeddah. The Saudi Arabian Grand Prix is about to kick off, and the atmosphere here is electric. The Jeddah Street Circuit has one of the fastest average speeds, as well as the most corners of any track on the calendar. Good high-speed downforce is going to make life in the fast lane a little easier for drivers here this weekend. At this early stage in the season, there are still plenty of opportunities for things to change. In this sport, there simply are no guarantees. What will happen this weekend? Only time will tell.
Okay, so practice 1, and this is my first practice because you didn't get the option in the first race to do practice. The team just did it for you. So I'm really happy that I can do this now, because I really like setting up the cars and seeing how the drivers react to the setups, and constantly adjusting and bringing these sliders within the window that the game gives you, and shows you where they're most comfortable with things. So I like going through that process. It's a longer process than it was on Motorsport Manager. Like, you really get to hone their setup over the course of all the practice sessions, and do several runs, and really get it down to something that they like, as you'll see as we go through this. So it is still a bit of like a, trial and error process, because I don't know how the game works completely. So it was just basically, let's get a setup and let's send them out.
Okay, let's do a radio check.
Radio check, okay? Radio check.
Green light.
So what I like to do is I like to send the guys out a little bit separate. Like, I just stagger them. By the time one guy's leaving the pit exit, I send the other guy out, because I've noticed in this game that they like to stick with each other a little bit and balk each other through corners, and it costs them a bit of time. It's not only the setup confidence that you got to get going in these practice sessions as well. You got to get the track acclimatization, so the driver's got to start to know the track, get comfortable with knowing what's happening on the track and how it reacts to the car. Car parts knowledge, obviously, Fernando's got to get used to the new suspension. So that all that sort of stuff plays into practice. In practice 1, we were 7th and 8th, and Leclerc was top. And then you can see, like, we're advancing on all those areas. Track acclimatization, car parts knowledge, and setup confidence is still a question mark, because they've only done one run and they're kind of not sure, and I haven't made any adjustments yet. Practice 2, 9th and 10th, and here we got some setup confidence on the cars. Fernando's getting used to that suspension, and they're about 60% on their track knowledge. In this final session, you can see the bars now, the windows for where the setup is going to be perfect have really narrowed down to these really small areas. So we're starting to really hone in on the most comfortable setup for the drivers. and Esteban's about 76 there. He knows the car well, and he's 77% on track knowledge. And 5th and 6th in practice 3. I mean, and that's everyone was running the soft, so we're pretty much right there where we were in the last race. And by the end of the session, pretty good result. So we're into qualifying now, and this is Q1. Alonso with a 130.2, and we are dropping
back up.
all that stuff down to conserve after his lap, so we don't run out of fuel
Trying to do some lift
like we
off.
did in the last race.
Yep.
In Q1. Ocon also just pretty much almost the same time, just less than a tenth off of Alonso.
Copy.
But see, as we learn as we go, you know,
Lift and coast.
we're making sure that we don't run them out of fuel. I was very conscious of that this time. I did a second run, I think. No, I didn't do a second run in Q1 because I realized that we were pretty good. We were 4th and 5th, and you know, there was still a bunch of cars to go, but I didn't feel like anyone was going to knock us out, you know, get us in the bottom 5. So I just left it where it was, and as you can see, only a few guys went better than us, and they were pretty much the same crew that we would expect to, with Russell, Hamilton, Perez, the 2 Ferraris, Verstappen, but no one else was above us really. Gasly did split us, but that's about it. And then you got Magnussen there in 12th. So made it through Q1 nice and easy. We're about a second off the pace there, but you know, we didn't do a second run, and maybe potentially we could have done a bit of a better time if we went out again, but trying to save tires and not run the engine as much, and it wasn't really worth us going out for that second run, I didn't think.
Give it a quick radio check.
I think it's okay.
Green light.
So Q2 now, and we are just out on our first run, and we're gonna just get a banker lap in, and I don't know what that was there with the Red Bull just running us a little bit wide. He fully came out onto he's not even on a lap, and he's just making it difficult for us. They seem to do that, the AI in this game. They just get in your way, make you have to lift, squeeze you when they're not even on a lap and you're on a hot lap. Like we had that one in Bahrain where Hamilton, or I think it was Hamilton, just completely like brake checked us coming out of one of the corners when we're on our hot lap, and just screwed up our whole lap, and nothing, no penalty. You know, they don't get penalized for that at all. So something that I don't know if they can even look at that, like making the AI smarter about getting out the way, or actually penalizing them for getting in the way and affecting your lap basically. So first lap for Alonso, which was pretty much the same as he did in Q1, and Ocon was just a little bit off the pace as well, almost identical, like 7/100ths or something off of Alonso. And I let everyone go first at the end of the session, and then sent my guys out to do their last run, because this one wasn't feeling as safe. We were, you know, we were at risk. You know, there wasn't a lot of difference. There's only like a half a second, and I didn't know, like it's saying track grip is high, so I didn't think it was that way before. I think it was rubbering up, and this is the Red Bulls being a pain in the ass. Like, they let us through, and then they decided that on this lap they would fight with us.
Okay, mate, nice top.
So I don't know if this worked in our favor or not, because we were forced to like give space, but then we also had the tow, which could potentially have helped us or not, but I don't know. And then even then, when we got the tow, we decided not to sit in it, and like, he takes a really weird line there, which would have affected him a lot. But yeah, don't understand why they were deciding to not give us a bit of space and themselves a bit of space to just get a clean lap in and then give us the toe basically as well. So maybe it worked out, maybe not. I'm not sure. But anyway, it did get us through. No one really improved too much, so 8th and 9th. The Alfa Romeo of Bottas did get above us, and they were pretty strong here from memory. And so that they were kind of our main challenges we were looking at for this week, for this weekend. In Q3, decided just didn't want another incident like that with the Red Bull. So I went out, sent them out in the middle of the session just before all the other drivers were going to come out, which may have been not the best of decisions in hindsight. But yeah, this game, you know, the AI just love to stop in the middle of straights, in the middle of corners. They like to slam the brakes on and really affect your driver's lap time when they're on a hot lap. So I just thought, let's just get out there, get a clean lap in with, you know, clean air, and we'll just play it as it lies, you know.
Copy.
So we weren't overly quick. You know, it's pretty much where we were in the last race. We're still in that second part of the top 10, which is still good. You know, that's all it takes in a race is for a couple of drivers to drop out, and we're in for a top 5 finish. So 8th and 10th, Guan Yu Zhou, or Zhou Guan Yu, has split us, and then we got another Alfa Romeo above us, and then the other 3 teams, Ferrari, Red Bull, and Mercedes, basically all above us, which is pretty much where we are in performance.
The time has come for these drivers to fight it out wheel to wheel. Race day has arrived.
Although we didn't see a standout performance from Alpine during qualifying, everything's still open to them during this race. Ferrari performed brilliantly during qualifying and will be very pleased with their grid positions. But the challenge for them will be to keep the momentum going during the race. Tonight is a cloudy one and there's a good chance of rain. The teams will have to be flexible with their strategy for the race.
Well, the streets of Jeddah are abuzz, and the teams are nearly ready for the start of the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix.
It's interesting how both these desert tracks, they've said cloudy with potential for rain, and Bahrain's never had a rain race, and yeah, I don't think Saudi Arabia would be one either. But anyway, we're going to go with a 1-stop with Alonso again, and I'm going to try a 2-stop with Ocon just to play with strategy and just see what happens.
Cloudy skies tonight, with the drivers now having taken position on the grid. Looking at Fernando Alonso here. They might not be in the top 3 spots, but things could change fast once the race gets underway. Further back, we've got Esteban Ocon. A top 10 position today, but will they be able to capitalise on it? And we're just moments away now. It's almost time for the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix.
So here we are, Saudi Arabian GP, our second race as the manager of this team, Alpine, and we are away. And we are going to chuck this straight up into aggressive mode and see if we can make some passes straight away.
Okay, copy.
I don't know how this strategy is going to work as far as the 2-stop or the 1-stop. As I said before, I'm just trying to... This is the first season, so I'm just trying to see like what works at what track, and if I make a howling decision in some of these opening races and the first races of the first season, then I'm happy with that. Then I know next season that potentially like this, whatever strategy that it is that I ran is going to be the one, and then I know I can sort of it's just going to give me a guide. So if I split the strategies, I feel like I can get a good gauge of what works on what track, because it's not always going to be the same for every car all the time, because I know if you got a really strong car, then you can pretty much get away with any kind of strategy. So off the start, we were able to gain some positions. Ocon was able to pass Zhou Guanyu and Fernando passed Russell. So we've both made up a position. Both cars have made up a position. And seems to be right on the tail of this Alfa Romeo. We are on the softer tyre of the two. It looks like they're running the hard tyre, and we've got on the medium tyre on Alonso's car. And out in front, we've got Leclerc, Verstappen, Sainz all together, nose to tail, and there's kind of dropping Perez there. And then Hamilton is actually the lead car in the train that we're currently in. Sainz has actually done the fastest lap, even it is lap 3. But he looked quick all through qualifying and everything, so potentially he could do something in this race. But as we can see, like, this is what was evident in Bahrain, even though the two Ferraris had those big early, offs, which put them right to the back of the pack and had to fight their way all the way back up through the field throughout the race to 3rd and 4th. They have the pace to match it with the Red Bull, which is what we're seeing now. They're right up there fighting with Verstappen. Coming back to us, and nothing's changed, but you can see there is a fight going on ahead of me. Old teammates, Bottas and Hamilton having a little stoush there, but Bottas unable to get the move done, and the Alfa Romeo is looking quite racy in this one. I don't think they were this far up in the Bahrain GP, if I remember correctly, or maybe they just weren't around us.
Overtake available.
We're going to try and go past here, and this is what I don't like. We got overtake on, and why not use the rest of the track, dude? Like, he's so tight on everyone else, and he had to back off a little bit so he wouldn't run into them, and then he loses a position to Russell as well.
Yeah, man. I don't have that pace.
I don't understand that. We had the overtake on, and he could have easily pulled out a bit further to the left to try and make that move. But anyway, that is something that is part of this game. So nothing I can do about it because I don't have control of the cars. This is all on them. And maybe that is something that plays into how they are as a driver, like their statistics. Maybe there's something in their statistics, but I would think that Fernando would be pretty solid in all areas, and that wouldn't have been something that affected him.
Recharge on, please. Recharge on.
Okay.
So we're just going to recharge, and this was the funniest part. Alonso now overtake not on. He's in harvest mode with ERS.
Okay, good job.
And he passes 3 people on the straight. So I don't know what that was about.
What happened there? Now, just watch the
Russell,
here.
who was in our little train there, had a moment. She's given us a position
That was a bitter blow
for
for
Ocon.
the team, and it may have really hurt their overall chances.
And now Alonso is fighting with his old mate Lewis Hamilton. So the Mercedes doesn't seem to have the pace early on.
It's a race position gained
Although-
for Mercedes.
Does look like he is running the hard tyre. So maybe that is the pace difference. But there is a lot of ebb and flow I've noticed in this game. It is very similar to the other manager game, Motorsport Manager,
To lift.
where
Copy.
as Alonso just loses the position to Ocon,
Keep it up.
where
Let's take a look
they
at the
can
replay.
quickly
Okay,
lose
so there we have the Alpine.
ground on the driver in front of them, and then all of a sudden they just gain it back really quickly. So I'm not worried about that. I think it's excellent that we can have this kind of stuff where we can see the race happening in real time as per like you would be watching a race in real life. I think it's awesome, and I understand that it's the first time this has been done in this kind of format, so this is fantastic compared to what anything has gone before it, and it'll only get better. But that element is still in the game where you think you're right on the back of them, and if you're playing the game, like as in if you're maybe on F122 and playing the game, you could stay with them. You wouldn't lose this massive amount of time. And here, like, you wouldn't be backing off. You'd be trying to push right up to the back of them and shove that down the inside. But that's the nature of the game. It's a manager game. You are not in control like this, where he just loses a bunch of time and then all of a sudden gains it all back again.
Press
so
and hold overtake now, please. Press
we
and
make
hold
the move
overtake.
on Hamilton with Ocon this time. So Alonso's
Okay, mate, good job.
getting stuck in amongst Bottas, and Magnussen is in there now with Gasly. So that the train is starting to separate and break up a bit, but
It's a race position gained for Mercedes. We can take a look now. Now, just watch the Mercedes.
there is a bit of ebb and flow, and same straight, next lap, Hamilton goes past Ocon again. And it is a bit of that on this track. They
Make it look so
back
easy.
and forth with hitting the straight. As you see here, like the next, very next lap, I think it's the very next lap, boom, back on the back of Hamilton. Now Ocon has the DRS and straight past
No lift
again.
and coast required from our side at the moment.
So it's just about, it's just not bad. It's like, you know, they're just kind of working together
Let's take a closer
to
look.
stay in each other's
Now watch
DRS
this.
and not
Here's
fighting
Alonso's
too
car.
hard. Good boy.
And there they go, moving up a position.
Remember, Alonso's on the hard tire as well, so he's got the one stop. And then before you know it, he was back up on the back of Ocon again, on the hard tire. So I don't know if that's ability or something to do with the wear on the medium tire, or who knows. But oh wait, are they both on the mediums? I swore I started. Maybe they're both on the medium. Sorry. That just shot that whole theory out the window. But anyway, yeah, like Alonso straight back after Ocon was fighting with Hamilton. He's now lost like 3 seconds to Hamilton in, what was that? A couple of laps? And then Alonso's caught back up to him. I know he was saving a bit of fuel at one point, so but I don't think he should have lost that much. So it is a bit random with that kind of stuff sometimes, the game. Yeah, they both are on the mediums. My apologies. There's a very darting move across there from Ocon. And he also loses a position there to Bottas.
I can't do anything, guys.
Going back to the front, and it's still on between the two Ferraris and Verstappen. And this time Leclerc has the lead. And Sainz is going to have a go. No, he's not. Now, I'm wondering if there's a team orders thing set with Ferrari, because normally that sound, that lifting sound, is a don't fight your teammate kind of sound. As I've seen in the last race where I had don't fight, and Ocon was on the main straight, and he could have passed Alonso, but he just decided to sit nose to tail and basically just hold the revs so that he couldn't overspeed past him. There's a bit of an interesting battle at the front here. It's a bit, yeah, it'd be good to see Perez up there with them, but he's just a little bit behind there, about 6.5 seconds off the pace. And then we got Hamilton, who's about half a second behind him. No, he's 6 seconds behind Perez. Sorry. And then another second back and a bit is Alonso. So we're not doing too bad. Obviously, last race we finished above the Mercedes because they had some issues, spins late in the race, so we're able to make a few positions. So I don't think we're a better car than the Mercedes at this point in time. But that's our goal. Start challenging the Mercedes. But right now we need to start really just focusing on getting ahead of these Alfa Romeos, who seem to be quite handy around this track.
Overtake available.
Nicely done
Copy.
from Ocon, getting past Bottas. And even the
Good job.
I don't know if it's they're just trying to mirror, probably just trying to mirror what's happened so far in the real life F1. But the Haas of Magnussen is right up there as well. It seems that Verstappen's gone in. He's pitted, come out in 7th, just ahead of us, ahead of Ocon, as Sainz pits. Whew. Slamming it into the pits. I love how it's so much like watching a race. I know it doesn't look real. It still looks like a game, but it looks just the way it all works. It's really good. It's such a fun game to play. I enjoy this more than F1 22, if I'm going to be honest. Even after playing it just a few times, just the fact that it's just like watching a race, and you have some control over what's going on with one of the teams and create your own storyline around that. It's just such a cool element. As an F1 fan, it's just such a cool thing to be able to do. So we got some pit stops happening now, and Sainz has come out just behind Alonso, and this isn't good for the Red Bull. So Verstappen and Sainz, they've come out in our train, basically, and Leclerc's kept going. This is going to hold them up. And if Leclerc can get in and out in some clean air, that's going to be very, very handy for him, and could determine whether or not he wins the race, as he comes into the pits right now. So going onto the hard tyre is Leclerc, as Perez takes the lead of the race, having not pitted yet. And Ocon is coming in as we look at this battle between all these guys, and Leclerc has come out ahead of that battle. So as long as Hamilton and Fernando keep holding up Verstappen and Sainz, Leclerc's got a bit of clean air in front of him, 9 seconds to Perez, to just get a move on and basically break the DRS and break away from them, and could be home and hosed if he keeps it on the track. So Ocon's come out in 11th after his pit stop. We just missed that. He went in while we were watching that little train. He's come out behind Ricciardo and Norris, and ahead of Gasly, who they've all gone on to the hards, or they are all running hard. Some of them haven't stopped yet. And Alonso comes in. So lap 21, he's going to go onto the hard tyre.
Okay, we'd like you to slow down, please.
Ocon came in and put on another set of mediums, by the way. So he's going medium, medium, soft. Alonso's going medium, hard. And unfortunately, Alonso's just come out behind this battle of the McLarens. But he's only just behind Russell, who, if you remember, he went off the track just a little while ago, so he lost touch with that train. So there's a gap between himself and Bottas now. So we've been able to pit and both come out just behind him. So that's a chance to get in front of one of the Mercedes before the end of the race. This is Alonso making a move on Ricciardo, who does kind of squeeze him into the wall there a little bit. But move gets done. Just ahead of him, Russell and Norris having a bit of a fight, and Norris gets past Russell. Interesting. And now we're right on the back of him. He must be having a problem or something, because he's dropping like a fly. Whoa. Imagine being in that tail, in that toe. Stay out the way. And here we go with Alonso making the move. A double overtake on Norris and Russell. Well done, son. And that puts him up into 7th. Unfortunately, though, he wasn't able to shake them, so they both basically wing overtake him, like 2 wings on a bird. Either side, they just go past on the next lap.
Here's Alonso's car.
And then on the next lap, he passes him again. Another double overtake. And then, next lap, he only loses the position to Russell. So
there we have the Alpine.
It's hilarious how they just keep doing that over and over again. And this time he gets Russell
Gaining a position there. Oh, they make it look so
on a different part of the track. He actually got him back before the straight, and then Alonso's now got Russell back again. So overtakes galore in this race with our drivers. They're really fighting it out with a bunch of drivers.
They've locked
and then he goes off. Thanks, buddy. Uncharacteristic of Fernando. He goes off and he loses a bunch of time.
They'll be questioning just what happened out there.
Guess you got to expect that's going to happen from time to time. You can't always be running perfect races. No flashbacks in this game, so can't just run that one back. And so now Alonso finds himself 3 seconds behind Norris. 3 seconds behind Ocon. And Ricciardo's dropped a fair way back as well. We only passed him a little while ago. So Ocon's now caught Norris, who has lost touch with Russell. The McLarens aren't. They're not there yet. They're having that same in real life 2022 start to the season as they are in the game. It's the same as the game as it is in real life. And we really need to clear these guys to make sure Russell doesn't get away. So this is Ocon on the medium tire. He's going to have to stop again. So he needs to make this... make the move. Mate.
Fantastic, Esteban. Keep it up.
Tell you what, so close to the wall. Down the inside. Brilliant move on Norris there. They haven't stopped yet, though, the 2 McLarens. They're all running on the hards as we see Norris go in now. For his stop, I'm assuming he'll just go on a 1 stop. So this is the guy who hasn't stopped. He's ahead of us, Russell. And he had that one mistake earlier in the race, and He is really dragging this stint out. The Mercedes is known for having really good tire wear, and he just kept going. Like, this is lap 35 now, and he's still running. As Ricciardo comes in, he is the last of the people to stop, barring George Russell. And George Russell comes in. So he ran those hard tires for 36 laps, which is something to take note of for next season. That you can go a fair way on those. So, now everyone has stopped. Ocon is in 7th. And Alonso is in 8th because he had that little error. So he's just dropped back a bit.
Copy.
And can't really see Bottas as Alonso passes Ocon on the straight here. Now we're in this same position again where our drivers are fighting with each other.
I'd like you to slow down, please.
Yeah, copy.
I did experience the thing again in this race where the fuel was all over the place. 1 minute they had no fuel, they weren't going to make it to the end of the race. Then the next minute they had like 5 laps of fuel in reserve, and then you run them hard for a bit, for a few laps, and all of a sudden they're like 2 laps underneath. So you got to pay attention, and practice does give you a good idea of how that's gonna play out, because you will see how much fuel they're using on their runs during practice. So pay attention to that, and that will give you a bit of a clue into the race of, you know, how you can use your fuel throughout the race. So I was able to run it pretty high for most of the race and know that I wasn't going to run out of fuel too much.
Okay.
Like, I could run them on push, and still the fuel wasn't really depleting.
Box this lap.
7 in.
Okay, so up the front, we still have Leclerc, and you can see now he's almost 8 seconds clear of Verstappen. So they were really affected by getting stuck in that train with us and Hamilton and Bottas, which has really broken up that pack, because now you can see Sainz is another like 4.5 seconds behind Verstappen, and then Perez is a further 9 seconds back, and then Hamilton is 14 seconds back from them, and then you got Bottas is 4 seconds behind him, and then
Copy that.
Alonso 13, and Ocon is in. He's 11 seconds, 12 seconds ahead of Russell. So he's going onto the soft, and like I said before, good stop. This is just to see how it plays out, because it'll be good data for next season. So we just want to see how this kind of strategy goes, and then if we're with Alpine or not, we know what's going to work next time we come to this track. When he did pit, I thought, look, 8 laps to go on softs, he'd want to be pretty quick, but this was the problem. He was getting stuck behind Magnussen and unable to make the move. It's not an easy place to pass. The only real place you have to pass here
You've got energy to push.
is here. Is on the straight. The rest of it is like you got to make a pretty daring move to get it done. Maybe there's another straight just after that, a second straight, just leading into that big spoon curve to the left. That can kind of do it for you. But other than that, you're not. There's not a lot of places to pass on this track, even though there's a lot of DRS zones. Maybe even that final corner, getting into the DRS up to that final corner, you could make a move there. But with the AI the way they are in this game, it's really only this straight. And this was not helpful. Like Ocon's getting, there's 5 laps to go now, and he's still dicing with Magnussen, and they're not making any progress in catching up to
Overtake available.
Russell. So
Copy.
in hindsight, this probably wasn't the best strategy to run for him.
Nice work.
But now we know. Now we know that
Been a lock-up.
it looks like the one stop
Take a
is
look
the way.
Now let's watch this. The Alfa Romeo involved in this one. Just a bit too heavy on the
So
brakes.
Bottas
and
goes
they
off.
locked up.
Does that give us anything?
That's going to be a big blow to the team. Will they be able to recover?
Because he was just
We'll
ahead of
see.
Alonso by a little bit, but I mean he slowed down a fair way there. Not really. He lost like 3 seconds. So still 9 seconds to catch if Alonso's going to get him in 4 laps.
Let's pick our pace up. Let's go.
Copy up.
Cover that. It's ridiculous actually how much he's staying with him on the softs with worn. He got worn hards on, I think, Magnussen.
So let's use the energy.
And not making a lot of progress on Russell at all. Pretty much the same distance he was when he came out of the pits. So that strategy hasn't worked. We've actually lost the position by doing that. So it would have been better for us to maybe start Ocon on the hards and put him on the mediums at the end and just basically alternate that.
Let's take a closer look.
But we know that for next
Look
time.
at that. Leclerc takes first place.
All credit to the team for the car they've put together. But without that incredible and consistent driving, it'd all be for nothing.
So Leclerc wins the race. Good comeback after their misfortunes in Bahrain. And our boy Alonso is all on his own. As we were in Bahrain. We're kind of far enough ahead of the next team. And far enough behind anyone else that we kind of end up running by ourselves. Well, that's been the experience in the first 2 races that we've done. Is that we're in this sort of mid to high pack of our own. So 7th position for Fernando. Still good points. Still where we expect to be.
Yeah, well done, guys. It was a good weekend.
Thank you, mate. Awesome job from you. That is the checkered flag.
Copy. Yeah, great job, guys. Great teamwork this weekend. Good point.
And Esteban in 9th position. So not as good as last race, but still a solid performance.
Good race here today. This wasn't bad at all from Alpine. Now the question is, how can they make it better next time?
Yes, there's no doubt that they have what it takes. I can't wait to see which direction they go in for the next race.
That's right, and they finished the race weekend in 3rd place in the constructor standings.
And for the next round, Formula One is heading down under. Exciting times ahead in Australia on the shores of the Albert Park Lake.
And I look forward to that being my home race. So just to recap, Leclerc finishes in 1st, Verstappen 2nd, Carlos Sainz 3rd, Perez 4th, Hamilton 5th, Bottas in 6th, ourselves, Alonso in 7th, Russell 8th, Ocon 9th, then Magnussen, Gasly, Guan Yu, Zhou, Norris, Ricciardo, Tsunoda, Schumacher, Vettel, Stroll, Albon, and Latifi. Leclerc is in the lead of the Drivers' Championship. Perez is in 2nd, Verstappen in 3rd. We are 6th and 8th. And ahead of George Russell, Ocon. So we are ahead of one of the Mercedes. That is our target really this year, is to try and at least compete or finish ahead of Mercedes. And that is what we're doing right now. We're on 3rd. We are 3rd in the championship, only just ahead of them. We did give up some points there with that bad strategy call, but oh well. Now, our driver experience. So a lot of experience gained for Ocon. Alonso obviously not going to get the experience that everyone else is going to be because of his age. Piastri gets none. I do want to start running him in some of the practice sessions to get a little bit of that going upwards for him as well. So I might do that in Australia for his home race. So guys, that is the end of today's video. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm really enjoying this game. I fucking love it, man. It's so good. It really is like watching a race and having a say in the way the race pans out for at least one of the teams. So I just love that whole dynamic and the fact that you can watch it and everything. So I'm really enjoying it. Can't wait to do the next one. But that's all for today. If you did like the video, please remember to hit the like button and to subscribe to the channel for more F1 gaming content and just F1 content in general. This may not be just a strictly gaming channel. I'm not sure about that yet, but we will see in the future. I've got some other ideas as well. But that's all for today, guys. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.